There you go. All right. Okay, so how it basically starts off is just, does everybody know what fast casual is? I think nowadays that's a pretty common term. Not know what fast casual is? So basically what they were asking is, oh yeah, quick overview of it. Kennedy was basically the owner and founder, got bored with being a marketing executive, figured out life, and decided he wanted to come up with this idea for a restaurant. Did it. It was really shaky at first, got more people involved, eventually caught on, he started expanding. The big culture was a big part of it, so he was always not sure if he should franchise it. Then that's where we left off. Anybody have comments towards that? No, all right. All right. So what is the challenge facing Noodles and Company in the fast casual segment? Like, what were the main obstacles they had to overcome when they introduced this segment?
They had a lot of pressure to grow and to compete with all these other companies that had a lot more capital than them and a lot more growth. And in order to stay on the same level as them, they're kind of being forced on whether they want to be the first in the market, get the best rent and stuff, or do they want to kind of slow their pace, make sure they focus on the quality of the restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Something else that they hit on was it was a new idea, and it like not everybody knew what Panera was, not everybody knew what Chipotle was, not everybody knew all these pop-ups and all these local places. So they didn't really know what fast casual was. Also another problem. And if you notice, like with the first store, they didn't make the store themselves, so it wasn't really designed around their concept. So I think those were some of the big problems. All right, so.
Sorry, I think another problem was that they didn't know what they were doing because they've never done this before, and they didn't really do the research. They just kind of jumped into it and hoped for the best, but didn't do enough research to kind of find out what other restaurants were doing and how they did things to know how a restaurant should be ran. He just got tired of what he was doing and wanted to start something else.
Yeah, I think after, like, what was it, the third store, when they did their second round of funding, where he like took a team to Chicago and analyzed things, and took them to noodle shops in New York and analyzed things, and then brought that back to the third store. Yeah, I thought when he actually did the research, I was like, wow, that was really smart. That was one thing I liked, is that every time he hit a wall, like, reevaluate, resurvey, get new ideas, bring on someone new, think about something. I like that. All right, so going in stream of that, we're going to talk about. I'm sorry.
What? I was saying it reminds me of one of the other classes that I took where it was talking about when you're going to start a business, you don't just go, okay, I want to start my business and this is what I want. You kind of have to look at where do you want it to end up in the long term. And I think he just kind of looked at this is what I want, and didn't realize the different steps that needed to come into play as it grew.
Yeah, exactly. And also asked, and this kind of goes along with Kennedy, is working full-time as an employee while developing a new business a good idea or a bad idea?
I think it's a bad idea because he didn't have as much time to focus on one or the other. Like, he's probably more focused on starting his own business than he was on his actual job. Or at times he was more focused on his job if he had a deadline than he could have been on starting his own business. So I feel like if you're going to start your own business, you need to give it all your effort.
That's true. And he also, I think it took him like a year and a half to actually get things started. Isn't that what the article said? When it probably could have taken a little bit less time had he focused all of his efforts into it.
And something that I kind of thought was confusing is that the guy led the Pepsi campaign for, like, Cindy Crawford back in the day. I remember that being on the Super Bowl. He revitalized Pepsi. He revitalized another brand. And he didn't seem to have very much in savings when he started the company, I felt. Like, within the first year, he had to, like, take a second mortgage on his house and max out his credit cards. It wasn't until, like, 3 or 4 years in that he finally paid off his credit cards. I thought that was weird.
And I think that could
level
have
of the
been
game
prevented if he had like done the research early on and then implemented it into the store. Like, yeah, they did the research and got it going in the third store, but what if he had done that and got it going in the first store before he started a second store? He could have prevented all that debt, like taking out a second mortgage and all the credit card debt.
You know, so we already touched on why the early opening kind of sucked. But what was some of the good things? What were the good things that happened at the beginning? Did well.
I think the biggest thing was that he had good people he worked with, and they worked well together, and they were able to, he had a lot of trust with them, and he worked with his brother-in-law.
Yeah, I thought it was nice that anytime they, did two people just drop?
Yeah.
Should I re-invite them?
Yeah.
If they still have the link, they should be able to get back in.
That's true.
Do it again. So, you know, something else I liked that they did at the beginning was anytime something happened, they instantly cleaned up. Like when the basement flooded, they instantly cleaned up. At the beginning, no one was above any job, and whatever needed to be done, they got done. Now, dealing with the structure of the company and the team culture, because it mentions that in the case study a lot, that the reason why he wanted to not franchise and what his original thing was, he was always concerned about was losing the culture and the company, you know, every goal, blah, 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 every customer. So what were some of the things that he did well with the structure and the culture?
I think one of the biggest things is they made each employee, no matter their job status and what level they were at, feel like they were part of the company and that they mattered. They didn't make them be like, oh, you just work at the restaurant, you're not important. They put in extensive training for every position and made everybody feel like they were part of the team.
One thing I liked was every employee had a bonus structure. Because there's a couple of restaurants in New York and a couple other places that have now experimented getting rid of tips, and they pay everybody hourly wage, give them full benefits, and the thing that hooks them is that bonus on everything. And one restaurant said that he actually is making more money with less overhead paying them and giving them benefits, because he gave them bonuses on, like, hey, 10% of the bonus divvied out to all employees based on the alcohol profits, based on laundry savings, based on what. So he found that laundry was reduced 75%, all overpours were reduced 90%. And he found, I forgot the other metric, but it was another bill went down 70%. And he's like, so those were my three main overheads aside from employees. So he's like, I actually doubled my profits by paying them more. And it's because once you have a bonus, you're not going to overpour drinks thinking that this will give me a better tip. They're like, oh, I'll just do what I'm supposed to do because my bonus relies on it. I thought that was pretty good. Also, for his ownership in the company.
I also liked how
I thought he had really good training programs in place too, because he could interchange people to different stores and it would be okay because they knew their job, or they used other stores to train each other too.
That's what I was just gonna say. Is I like that he took the star people, kind of I think they called them heroes or something in it, and he used them to train the new companies. So it wasn't just like, okay, here's the book, learn from it and go with it. It was who's been here knows how to do it.
I am not muted. I really liked that he brought the people from corporate at least once a month to work a shift in the actual store, because it's like you're not nobody else. Like, we're at the same end goal, and this is what it is. Like, we serve people good food. Like, this is the culture, and I think that was a biz.
So speaking about, we talked about growth, how they went through other stores. What was their original plan to expand? like, for example, what was their next target was the Midwest at that time, or when they expanded from 3 stores to 53 stores. Like, we mentioned it before where they try to, like, bring in employees. Was there anything in the local areas for, like, recruiting or anything like that?
I know they're trying to get up to 300 stores eventually. I don't remember.
Well, what I was referring to is when they talked about recruiting local team, they would do a lot of like grassroots, for lack of a better word. Like they go talk to people, do a lot of unconventional recruiting. So like they go to college campuses, they'd ask current employees who are your friends. A quote that said in a case study was friends of friends. Everybody was kind of.
Yeah, I like that they even passed out flyers on the street just to get people in, to get them excited about it, and then to make them aware of the company.
Also, they were doing like fundraise. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say also they were doing like fundraisers and stuff with schools, like sending employees and stuff into the schools to recruit.
Yeah, that's right. That was in Colorado, right, where one of the stores was doing that and was in bad locations. So they tried to integrate with the community and show it had more of a place in the community. All right. So what should they do now? Did anybody see anything wrong with what they did towards the end? Because like how the case study ended, I didn't know 2 options, but I didn't see one being bad. I just kind of saw them each having their negatives and positives. Does anybody see anything wrong that they did towards the end, or wrong with their idea of growth? No? All right. So now looking at it, so there were 2 options. What were your guys' takes on the 2 options? I mean, to me, at least to me, it seemed like 2 options. There was the one for the franchising, then there was one for not franchising, just keep expanding how they were before. What did you guys like the most?
I thought franchising was the best option. It would decrease some of their costs when it comes to like paying rent and stuff for retail, because the franchisee would be the one paying that. And I just thought it would be more logical, because then you can get so many different franchisees from different states, so you can enter into new markets a lot faster.
That's what I chose too, because I thought they can still control their environment the best they can through the contracts and the agreements with the franchisee, and be able to still have the environment they desire for their name.
Leanne, you had something?
The problem you run into with franchising, though, is that they can't keep the culture. Like with franchises, it's impossible. Even no matter what you have in a contract, you're not going to be able to keep the culture of the company with the training and being able to go visit the stores and stuff. So I actually was not for franchising, because their executive team was so much about the culture and the teamwork and the environment that they provided, that with franchising it just gets harder and harder. Yeah, you're getting into markets faster, but you're losing what your stores are about.
Yeah, how I kind of took it was, I said there's positives to both, and I was like, it just ends up how he wants to do it. To me, in my opinion, I think he already picked franchising. I think he already picked franchising before. That's like 3 or 4 people he hired on franchising. So I feel like he already picked franchising, and it was. I mean, and if you look up Panera now, it's franchises. So franchising. I mean, Noodles is a company. So to me, I was always like, franchising is the quickest way to make money as a corporation, but it's the easiest way to lose hold of your company. So I was kind of like, what he cared most about. Somebody else had something to say?
I did. My connection keeps going in and out, so I apologize. I was with Leanne on the not franchising. because of the loss of culture. I live in Colorado Springs, and right now we actually just had different Denny's that were owned by this. Hold on. There we go. Sorry, like I said, my computer hates me. We had 5 different Denny's that just got seized because the guy that was the franchisee wasn't following the culture, wasn't paying things, and it actually completely tainted the company.
Sounds good. Yeah, and that's true. Like there was a Subway around here that happened to. I remember going in there and the people were so rude. Like I was just like, hey, can I get a sub, please? And they're like, yeah, whatever. I was like, all right. Like, and it was like the owners. And then I came by another month later and they were replaced. And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're like the 10th person today to tell us that. Like, we're here to clean up the franchise and resell it. I was like, okay. Yeah. So now, obviously they went with franchising. Obviously, that's what he picked. Now, what are some ways that he could have, because obviously with franchising, the issue is culture. What are some ways he could have retained the culture while doing the franchising?
I think if they hire specific people to maintain the culture, I mean, I'm trying to think of a way that you can do it, because he was mentioning that he didn't want to hire they would have to hire a bunch more people to bring on like a franchising manager and then somebody to help the culture. But I think if you can have somebody from corporate, I don't know if this is possible, to like check in on every store, or even somebody that lives in the same area as like some of the stores, just to keep up with the standards and make sure that the quality is how they want it.
Yeah, what I wrote in mine about the do franchise, my theory was that they should have done just like McDonald's, how they franchise, because they have a lot of power over their franchisees. Like, for example, when McDonald's started changing their thing, like, hey, we're actually going to make quality burgers and stuff like that. We're not just going to try to dollar menu everyone. They actually had some franchisees who'd been there for like 50 years. And they were like, no, we're not doing it. We're going to do what we want. And then McDonald's just pulled their franchise and, without missing a beat. And McDonald's has been a lot more profitable since, because they're just like, well, these people didn't get the idea. So I was like, if they brought on those people who were experts in franchises, and they made sure to write the clauses where they had more control over the franchises than like Denny's, it would probably help prevent it. That was my thought. It was a stronger contract with the franchises. Any other comments?
I feel like even if you don't franchise and you're looking at 300 stores, you still could potentially lose a lot of culture in various stores, because you can't be at them all at once, so you'd be able to go check on them probably more freely, but it sounds like you can do that in a contract with a franchisee as well. So I don't know, it's just my opinion.
Yeah. That was good. Now, the last thing, kind of just wrap it back in, because we're at church school. Does anybody have any gospel principles to apply to this, or have any connections with these, or anything that can come back to the gospel? All right, a lot of gospel connections. I would say probably with the culture, because how our church, quote unquote, franchises out the awards and stakes. You go to any branch in the world, stake in the world, they're all going to teach pretty much the same thing. And you kind of get standardized works and things like that. So I kind of took that as that. Like, everybody hates Common Core, but I'm like, that's pretty much what the church does. Like, anyway. Last thing. How do you think Noodles and Company has done as a business?
Well, they have like three.
I've never heard of them until this case study. Noodles and Company. I live in North Carolina. I don't have one.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think they've been doing pretty well for themselves. They have like 300 stores now or something like that. and they started franchising. I thought it was 300 stores. I ended up looking it up, and yeah.
It was 300 in the case study, but they've added more since then. Because I think the case study was based on like 2008, or I mean, I forget where it was written, but it was a while ago now.
I think at the company they've done a great job, because you go into Noodles and Company, and it is a great environment. So I feel like they've successfully been able to instill their culture into all of their franchises, because I love going in just because the people are nice and you don't have to tip them.
Yeah, so pretty good on that then. Does anybody else have any comments before we wrap up? No? All right, so I'm going to end the broadcast then.